Hello, my name is Mordarim, and today we are going to take a look at Enshrouded, an upcoming adventure RPG sandbox game with survival elements as well as an optional co-op experience. The early access release is set for the 24th of January 2024, and it's developed by Keen Games, the developer of Portal Knights, another great sandbox action RPG. So the developers have quite a bit of experience under their belt. This combined with multiple demos performed for Enshrouded to gather feedback and let players experience what they have to offer makes me think this game has a lot of potential. Now, as far as the video is concerned, I will be talking about the systems in place more in depth later in the video. For now, let's have an expansive look at what the game has to offer. Enshrouded is an action game at its heart, featuring a refined combat system similar to what you would expect from a Souls-like title. The difficulty, however, is not as harsh despite there being bosses in the game. Don't get me wrong, the game will have challenging content, but not at the level of frustration deleting your hairline. As for the survival elements, you do not have to worry about thirst, hunger or sleep. Those are just tools provided to you to gain additional buffs. As for heat, cold and poison, those are status effects existing in the game, but we do not know if we need to manage those in order to survive specific encounters or regions of the world. Given the influence of Valheim on this title, I am inclined to believe we will have to manage nature's wrath in some capacity. The devs have also mentioned for biomes, with a desert being shown, as well as the Shroud, but there is no further information on them, except just a few pictures of the aforementioned desert area. So that's most of the hints we have. As far as guidance goes, you are spawned in a crypt-like ruin similar to Elden Ring or Breath of the Wild. You do get goals in form of a journal with quests, guide you through the experience, but you can ignore them in favor of exploring or progressing throughout the world on your own terms. Well, actually not entirely. The game is pretty much in your face with those quests. You are guided with a compass on top of your screen as well as multiple exclamation marks telling you to find a fitting location for your base. This is one crucial step that needs to be done by every player because the base is used for storage, crafting and replenishing your supplies. Without a base you will not be able to progress the game. If you need further guidance, you can look at the quests. They put a marker on the overworld map so you know where to go next. Speaking of the world, the demos featured 2 biomes, with 3 additional biomes being talked about by the devs. You start in the highlands, featuring a zone with hills, forests and ruins to explore by yourself or in co-op with your friends. You can find more docile creatures here, as well as weaker, less aggressive enemies. The loot is also not as great. It's designed as a relatively peaceful zone to ease you into the world, to build up your base. But something more sinister and corrupted awaits you just around the corner. Just as the earth splits open, revealing canyons filled with toxic fog, shrouding the ravines and caves of the underground, concealing more dangerous foes to be bested by you. That increased danger also offers you better rewards, with rare materials being accessible as well as better loot and challenging boss encounters you need to tackle in order to progress in the highlands. That fog needs to be dealt with. And you are also on a timer while exploring that fog. It's toxic for a reason. You can, however, find hourglasses or safe spots in the Shroud that replenish the timer. So you are on a clock, but as long as you find a safe spot, you can take your time. And like I already mentioned, the Shroud is nothing optional. It's part of the world and features Shroud roots that need to be taken care of and purged in order for you to unlock new areas above. In the demo, you had to clear the Shroud beneath a bridge to access the bridge. Otherwise, you could not progress. Now, as far as the gameplay loop is concerned, you explore, go back to your base, craft and venture forth into the unknown again. Crafting times are quite lengthy, but are done by order, meaning you do not have to stand beside the crafting station. You can expand your base, explore ruins, gather materials, or just go AFK for a while. You will still craft. Speaking of building and exploring, the world is voxel-based, fully destructible and ready to be shaped by you. This enables you to create some incredible structures, much less limited by the rules of, for example, Valheim. I expect some breathtaking builds here, especially with future updates to assets and possible mods expanding your toolset. You have a lot of freedom in this game. But remember, this is only an early access. What we get is limited in scope and not feature complete. Props, blocks, materials, bosses, possible biomes, as well as progression will be missing. Now with the overview being done, tell me what you think about the game. Is it something you want to play or rather avoid? And why? Is it because of the early access or because of the look or feel of the game? Next, let's have a look at the combat and progression systems in Enshrouded. This game leans more into the actual RPG genre than the survival game. You have a solid combat system, you have a skill tree that's quite expansive, you have multiple gear pieces you can combine, you have progression for enchanting and improving your gear, all of which is more in line with an action RPG. We do not have any hunger, thirst or fatigue bar. All of those tasks can be performed, but only provide you with buffs. Those in turn improve your combat prowess. A night and day cycle exists, but does not seem to influence your gameplay at all or in any significant way. Enemies are, as seen in the demo, the same no matter what time. They do not get more aggressive, do not spawn additional special forces, or drop new nighttime only loot. The same is true for resources. This might change, however, since we only had a look at the demo and we do not know what they will be adding with the early access release. As for equipment, you can craft basic equipment at the workstations and NPCs, but the high quality stuff is only found as loot from chests and enemies as well as bosses. The pieces found can also be upgraded and enhanced by unlocking their true potential. For this you just need a little bit of currency and upgrade materials. There is no RNG chance involved. And the gear you find does play a huge role in how you want to build your character. Weapons have abilities tied to them. A great hammer plays completely different than a sword. Same for a wand or a staff. This means you are also not locked out of wearing a specific piece of armor or gear. A warrior in heavy armor can still shoot with a bow or throw a fireball, but will be just less effective with it. Your character progresses and specializes through a relatively big skill tree with active and passive abilities. Leveling up unlocks points that can be spent in the aforementioned tree with 3 archetypes to choose from. The warrior, the ranger and the mage each occupy a third of the tree, but specializing into one will not lock you out of the other 2. Look at it like building a character in PoE. You can always access all nodes, but it might become impossible to reach certain passives or skills with heavy investment into a specific region. Like a dedicated mage will not be a dedicated warrior at the same time. You will find a middle ground. This makes me very excited. You can customize your build through not only your gear, but a relatively large board of choices that are very much impactful. You can change your dodge to be a blink, learn how to backstab enemies, improve your jump to a double jump, or unlock a jump attack with your melee attacks. It will certainly be possible to create quite a lot of fun builds suited to your playstyle, which means a stealth archer for most of us. The progression of your character is further elevated by special out-of-combat equipment like the glider or the grappling hook, focusing on traversal and transportation. Managing your resources to upgrade your character's power, expand your base, or increase your mobility to access new regions is something I really enjoy. It provides you with just the right amount of wonder, looking forward to the next dopamine hit when you get a new shiny toy, at the cost of something else. It is crucial for those types of games to have a rewarding and satisfying progression system, to allow players the freedom to mold their experiences to fulfill their desires and needs. It's a sandbox game after all. Now next a few words on the actual combat. It's very reminiscent of Souls-like combat. You can lock onto an enemy, parry their attacks to open them up for critical hits, block or dodge to mitigate damage, and use light or heavy attacks for regular openings. The weapon types available to you are ranged weaponry with a wide selection of arrows, magic wands for quick attacks, or staffs with heavy attacks with a limited amount of uses, light and heavy melee weapons as well as throwable explosives. So there is quite a lot of things to choose from. And let me say this again, the combat will not be as punishing as a Souls-like title, which is just known for its brutal encounters. But we are still looking at something that needs a little bit of thought. You need to prepare yourself with consumables such as potions, arrows, food, and sleep to increase your stats, to increase your effectiveness in combat. Going in without those preparations will be much harder. And as you might already guess, the combat will be relatively simple early on and will expand and open up to you with more new mechanics you learn through the skill tree. You won't have a dodge attack, you won't have a backstab, you won't have a jump attack, but those unlock later once you get them relatively early. Next, let's have a look at the gathering and crafting. Gathering is simple. You can find interactables together without tools like bushes and rubble. But you also have your good old trusty tools like a pickaxe or an axe to chop down trees and mine deposits. One thing that's different, however, is the ability to interact with destructible environments. Just like in Minecraft, the world is composed of voxels, shapeable blocks of Lego. Each one can be modified and ultimately destroyed with, for example, your pickaxe, allowing you to dig through mountains or around obstacles like walls. This opens up the possibility to dig through certain buildings to reveal hidden passages or rooms underneath them. It is a really cool system, but it does seem like there is not much weight or feedback to each chop or pickaxe hit. A flaw disappears with just one hit, without any animation. This makes it look very cheap. I personally do hope they will add some more resistance to your hits with the early access release. But if not, that's something you have to deal with. Now, what are you going to do with the newly acquired material? Simple crafting works through crafting benches, workstations and cooking pots. You can funnel in materials you have gathered into a workbench and give an order to start a certain amount of crafts. This is fully automatic and detached from your character. You can move around, explore the world and come back after a lengthy amount of time to find your order finished. Depending on how much you put inside the station determines how long it will take for the order to complete. A great system with a simple drawback. If you ever decide to not prepare your crafts before leaving, or you just forget, you will have to wait quite a while until your desired items are finished. This can lead to significant downtime. But what if you want to craft something better? For example, armor. That's advanced crafting. It needs the help of certain NPCs that need to be found and freed in the world. Doing so will allow you to build a shelter and summon them to request a certain service like the blacksmith or alchemist. All NPCs also lean into specific tasks, meaning a blacksmith will not be able to help you with crafting magic enchanted items, but an alchemist can and will happily introduce you into the world of flames and thunder. To unlock new recipes for them, you need to craft specific props like an anvil or the tanning station, and place them near the NPC. Certainly a great system allowing you to build and mold a real town around your hub. Which brings me to the building part of the game. Building is done in a building menu, offering you the choice between a voxel building blueprint or block by block building. This can result in some truly magnificent builds, allowing you to seamlessly integrate caves, mountains and even trees into your build. But to make everything come to life, you will also need to place props, which there are plentiful of, featuring over 100 different things you can place around your estate. Keep in mind this is an early access game with limited access to props and blocks. What we are missing now will be added later. Also expect mods to expand on this. But not everything is just decorative furniture. There are also trophies you can place around your estate to please not only your eyes, but also improve your rested buff you get from sleeping by a significant amount. Besting bosses allows you to loot their remains to craft trophies of varying sizes, allowing you to create your very special trophy room. Personally, I do hope for more than just the heads to be salvageable, but that's the only type I could find before release. And there is another thing that's tied to the building menu. It's farming. You can till some land, plant seeds and harvest the produce just like in any other survival game. Taming, however, was not in the demo or mentioned anywhere in any development videos published. It might get added post early access, but do not expect it since there were no cows, pigs or chickens found in the game. Also, you have no dedicated props for pens or similar structures. Now with that, we are at the end of the video. If you liked what you saw, please leave a like. If you have any questions or remarks, make sure to comment down below. And subscribe if you have not already. I will be covering Enshrouded once it's released, so look forward to that. See you next time and bye.